second time I'm going to try and do this video without some moron interrupting me. Um, yeah, everything that happens with me prior to every WrestleMania happened. I got my WrestleMania flu again, which I don't think there's been a Mania where I've not been sick, but it was a hell of a weekend. UFC and WrestleMania. I'm going to talk about both sporadically, but I'll talk about UFC first. Carwin surprised the hell out of me. I did not expect Carwin to win against Frank Mir. I thought Frank was going to beat him and we were going to get Frank Mir versus Lesnar, the big mega fight. And then the fight starts and Carwin clinches him up by the cage and just starts dirty boxing and then knocks him out. I was completely stunned. I did not expect that to happen. But it did, and it was a good thing, and I mean, it sets up Carwin and Lesnar perfectly, the fight that we should have got in November. And I really wanted to see Carwin and Lesnar, because I would rather see Lesnar now against different people to see what happens there. Someone actually of his own size and similar background. That'll be an interesting fight. It's a shame Thiago Alves couldn't make the card. You know, he had to have a brain scan and wouldn't be cleared, and that was a shame because the Fitch Alves fight I felt had the potential to be fight of the night and fight of the year. I'm a big fan of Thiago Alves, by the way. It's a shame. Fitch won. Fitch really wants a title fight again, but it looks like Dana won't give him one unless he fights Koscheck or Swick, which he doesn't really want to do. GSP and actually, no, I want to talk about Nick. If anyone saw the weigh-in, please tell me they saw Nate Diaz intimidate the shit out of Rory Markham with that stare down, and then Nick walks past and stares him out, and Markham looked a bit like, you know, weary. It was quite funny. It was interesting seeing Nate win that fight. GSP versus Dan Hardy. Again, George's style has changed a lot since the Sarah loss. You know, he goes for takedowns a lot more and controls you on the ground and beats you there instead. And he just does it so effectively. And in a way, it can be a boring fight, but it's fascinating to watch just how perfect he does it. He just kept Hardy down. I thought Hardy was going to tap when he put him in that armbar. I really did. And Hardy just persevered. But, I mean, it was a damn good fight. I guess the theory now is if you can stop a St. Pierre takedown, then you have a good chance of beating him. The only two people I see kind of giving him trouble right now aren't even in the UFC. And that would probably be Nick Diaz, who I think would really give him... If he'd probably get taken down, but I could see Diaz being the problem with his jiu-jitsu, especially if you put him on his back. And Jake Shields, I think those two would be interesting fights for him. Yeah, it was interesting. You know, I don't know. Maybe they might end up getting Jake Shields at some point soon. So because it's his last fight in his contract. The other thing was WrestleMania, and that was a damn good show. Just some weird thoughts popped into my head as it was on. It's pretty interesting seeing Randy Orton in one of the probably unimportant matches in the card, considering a year ago he was on the main event and it was so heavily promoted, and to see him all the way down at the bottom was just strange. But Orton was super over. I don't know if they can make him a face, really. He's over, but he's so much better off as a heel. I think it's because he's so good at what he does that fans respect him, his abilities, and they cheer him because of that. The tag team title match was short, but I was glad to see The Miz finally get a WrestleMania appearance. I was so happy to see that. The Money in the Bank ladder match, I'm not ashamed to admit that I mocked and screamed like a 10-year-old child when Jack Swagger won. I'd been harping on for months about Jack Swagger and how he needs to get a push and how they need to do this and that with him and all the typical internet stuff that we say. And he won, and I just went crazy. It was brilliant. Funny, actually, when they came out in their attire, he really reminded me of Kurt Angle in that red, white, and blue attire. It was just strange. Hunter and Sheamus was a lot better than I thought it would be. Surprised Hunter won, but oh well. Sheamus wasn't like made to look bad at all. I actually felt they did a good job of preserving him. Mysterio and Punk could have probably been match of the night if it had maybe 10 more minutes. it was good for what it was. It was quite short. Punk was just effective doing the promo on the way to the ring. It's my favourite part of his act, actually. And he does this role of this force-feeding preacher. You will believe what I'm telling you, or else. He does it so well, and he's so good at, he's not afraid of being booed. The Brett and Vince segment, that went on for ages. I don't know if I was the only one who felt like that. I can't say that that was the worst thing I've ever seen, but it did drag on. But then again, what were you expecting when Brett, is not in that kind of physical condition that he was in when he was actually wrestling? It did just go on and on and on and on and on. The only good thing I really felt is at least the Hart Dynasty got somewhat of a rub out of it, so I was happy about that. Jericho and Edge was decent. I was surprised Jericho won, but it's not a bad thing considering they've got, excuse me, picking my nose tasty. It's not a bad thing considering they're going to have another pay per view, in 3 weeks, and they're probably going to wrestle again. So give Edge a reason to chase him for another couple of weeks. The women's match, I went to the toilet for. John Cena and Dave Bautista actually was really good. I was quite impressed with that match. That is one of those things where it can either be the worst match on the card or it could be, the show stealer of the card. It was very, very close. It was a good match, very, very heated. Batista as a heel has just been gold for the last few months, and it was really, really good. It was fascinating hearing the crowd chant "You can't wrestle," and then go from "You can't wrestle" to "Cena sucks" to just this roar and this excitement and a pop. So that was a really, really good one. It was much better than their SummerSlam match too. In fact, really, their match should have been at WrestleMania, and I'm glad actually that they did it at Mania for a change. And then the match that we all wanted to see, that we all paid to see, that we all wanted to see, the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels match. Now, when I watched that match, it brought back what it is about professional wrestling that drew me in the first place. The drama, the emotion, the psychological aspect. What's going to happen? All the twists and turns. That match had it all. And I will go out on record and I will go out on a limb and say I felt that was the better match of the two matches they had. Based on the emotion that it provoked in me, the thought process that it provoked in me, as well as the aesthetic aspect of the match, it was just incredible. It was an incredible match to watch. I've watched it about 3 times, 4 times since, and it was amazing. The ending, the ending was spectacular to me. Actually, do you know what? I want to talk. The build up to it was really, really well done, and the match was really well done, and it was a good match. But then the ending, when Taker did and then as he went to do it, he stopped halfway through and kind of became human and just looked down at Shawn sympathetically and told him, Shawn, just get up. Shawn, get up. And it was like he was contemplating not, going through with it, pulling the trigger. It was a classic storytelling moment. It's like, I don't think I can pull the trigger. And Shawn just getting up and doing the sign back at him and mocking him and then slapping him in the face and then Taker going, right, pulls the trigger. Bang! That last minute, it will stay in my mind for a very long time. It was just, that to me is just, that was incredible. And it looks like Shawn may be retired. You never know. This is wrestling. People do come out of retirement. But I have heard that, Shawn himself has told the office that he wanted to retire and he gave them a date around a year ago of when he wants to do it. And I think that, in a weird way, added to the match for me anyways. Because you're still in disbelief that Shawn, when Shawn's going to retire, we're going to know way in advance. And we kind of did. And then we kind of didn't. And that added to the match for me. And personally, I would say that was the better match of the two by a narrow margin. And I felt that the ending was what did it for me. It was incredible visual at the end. And they, the WWE, they get flack for a lot of things they do, but something they did really well is when they kind of zoomed out the crowd of the ring as Shawn was there, and you could just see the entire arena, and it was a breathtaking image right there. And then you just see Shawn walking up the ramp, waving goodbye and tearful, and it just, man, incredible, absolutely incredible. So that's what I thought of the entire weekend. UFC, Wrestlemania had its points where it wasn't all that good, but overall I had a good time and it was a good show. Um, Next up is Ring of Honor Big Bang. So anyone out there actually wants something different, Ring of Honor Big Bang coming up in a week. Check it out. Take care. Bye.